Hello and welcome. In this session, I want to take you through another scenario inside the MigrationWiz product, whereby we migrate local AD objects into Entra ID. Now, this is without the need for the Entra ID Connect or the Cloud Sync. This is going directly from a local AD into an M365, a target tenant, Entra ID. Now, if you haven't watched the AD to AD or the Entra ID to Entra ID videos, then I suggest you go and have a look at those just to familiarize yourself a bit more around the product and how it works. But this session, I want to show you some of the nuances of that type of project when we're going from the, as I say, from the local AD into Entra ID. So I'm going to start a new project here. You can see Active Directory, and we'll give it the normal project name and customer, like so. And here I'm going to be selecting what our agent types are going to be. So here we will have Active Directory as the source, and the target will be Entra ID, as you can see there. So hit next step with that one, and it takes us into the source settings. Now, there are no source settings to configure on the SaaS console because the source is not Entra ID, and therefore we're just going to get the ability to download that source agent and to then have the API key, which I'm going to copy to the clipboard now, which we'll be using in the agent when we set that up. Now, in the next step, however, the destination, we are going to be choosing the endpoint, which will be the Entra ID or the M365 tenant endpoint. Now, I've configured those already in the other videos, the Entra ID video, so please go and have a look at that. And it's also in the help desk article as well if you want to run through that particular setup of that type of project. But here I'm just going to be selecting that endpoint. So when I do that, you'll notice it picks up that information, but I still need to put in what these three items are. So I'm just going to go into the tenant now and collect those and put those back into this endpoint setup accordingly. Which you can see comes through as that. It's going to be the same API key. Now down the bottom here, it is important that we do select the region, and we're going to give it what the target UPN suffix is going to be. In this case, it's going to be Migration Frog. So once that's all in, we can just hit save and go to summary, which will then take us here, and we can hit save project. It'll give us then the blank screen where we can start scanning the source and put those identities in here. Now, the source in this one is going to be the local AD, but we run up the source agent, which you obviously download from the console, get onto your machine and run. You can see here now it's asking us to log in with our MigrationWiz account, which is this one here. Hit next. Now, we've used this one before, so it's going to have the old API key and the project name. So I'm going to put in here what the correct ones will be for this project, which is that. So then we hit next, and that will bind itself to that key, and it knows that the source is going to be local AD, therefore it's going to ask us for these credentials as well. So I'll just put those in for us now. Now, a quick note on the domain here. This is the distinguished name format for the domain you're connecting to, and if you don't know where to find that, let me just show you. If you go into the normal Active Directory and users, and you've got the advanced features turned on there, you can right click at the top of the tree, hit properties there, and under attribute editor, you'll find the distinguished name is right here. So you can take that, copy that out, and if we do that, you'll see cancel there. It looks like that. It doesn't matter about capitalization, but it's just to show you that it was pasted in from that. And we hit next, and you'll find it will go off and connect to the AD, and then obviously give us a list of OUs. There we go. So in here from the OUs, I'm going to be able to decide what accounts I want to bring over into the console. So I'm just going to hit users. There we go. And I'm going to actually unselect some of these here. I don't need some of these. I just want the top level of users. And I'm going to hit start scan transmit. That will then scan the local AD for those accounts and get them up into the MigrationWiz console. Which once it does it, you'll see the status appear. And there we go, 64 objects transferred up. So now to bind that through, I'm going to jump into the target agent and configure this. Now, likewise, we've used this agent before on this machine for another migration. So as soon as we hit next here, you're going to see the other API key there. So we're going to remove those, and we will replace them with the API key and the project name for this one. Like that, and hit next. That will go and validate that key, and then you can see it's jumping straight into that heartbeat section. So now we know that when we push something through for a migration now, it's going to be automatically written into that target Entra ID system every 300 seconds. So every 5 minutes, that will perform that scan, look for work to do, and then perform that inside Entra. Now, like you would have heard me mention before, it's always a really good idea to do a simulate change and then look at the log files and see what it actually would have done if it was allowed to run. But we would need to, again, pay very close attention here. In advanced options, have a look at the matching criteria. And it's a simple window here, but it's very, very important. We don't want it to bulldoze any accounts just because they just happen to have the same name. Often it's good to bind on employee ID or a custom attribute just to make sure your matching is 100% correct and you're not going to be destroying anything on the target if that goes through and has a mistake. Always good to do some test users first and get that across. Basically, make sure you're completely solid on your configuration before you start throwing hundreds of users at the target. So with that in play there, we'll jump back up here. I'm going to pick out this user here, Ed and Senna, and you can see there's not really much information in here. I'm going to go and do an update shortly so you can see the updates come through. But the key thing here is I will now hit the right target. You can see that I've got, actually I should show you here the two green items here. That means the source and target agents are connected correctly, which is important. But here I just hit start migration and hit OK. What it'll do then is you can see here it's awaiting right to target. Now if we jump into the DC, I can tell it to just do the heartbeat straight away with the manual, and what it should do is pick up that one object and it will then write that into the Entra ID on that migration frog side. And you can see here it's gone purple, which is a new account, right user, Ed and Senna. So it looks good from that stage. Let's go and have a look at the Entra ID and see what that account looks like now. Now just to show you in real time, you can see it does not exist there, but if I hit refresh, there we go. And you can see that's picked up the correct UPN. It's done the transfer of the account, so we can see everything here. But you'll notice as well that obviously this is pretty blank because it wasn't set on the source side. So what I'm going to do now is, yes, we've got that account over. That will continue to sync through that console. And if I jump back in there, you'll see why that is, which is in here. You can see that it is, if I do a refresh, continuous sync is turned on. That means whenever that heartbeat goes for the 5 minutes, it'll look to the database to say, do I have anything else to write in here? And if it does, obviously it will write that data for you. So I'm going to do a little trick here where I'm going to update that item, push it through from the source, see it appear in the database, and then just let it just flow through to the target and just show you, like I say, in real time how that works. So I'm in my source tenant here, and you can see under Cozy Mouse, let's have a look at users. Let's go find him. Where are you? There you are. And we'll do some, let's see, so we'll put in, actually we'll put in the job title, organization, job title. Oh, F2, oh my gosh, he will turn over in his grave. There we go, and 21. And we'll put an address in as well. Let's just put in straight, something like that, and we'll just put in some other items just to put some data in there. Basically is what we're doing. I want to fill it up with things so that you can see it making a change in the target. So there we go, hit OK there, and I'm just going to go and hit the start scan and transmit again. That'll go off and pick up all those objects. It'll look at all the changes obviously and just send that data up to the console, which is now done. So I'm going to go back into our console now and have a look at those items. So we're back, we'll do a refresh and have a look at this object now. And you can see it's picked up more information, which is perfect. So really, I don't need to do anything else on the console because the data's in there. We have our continuous sync turned on. When I do now look at the target here, we might have actually just hit that. It looks like it was just in that area. I'm going to hit manual heartbeat again just to push it through one more time. But you can see it has updated, or what it says it's updated is that particular object. It's green, so you can see that's the notification. You need to know that it's an update rather than a write. And it says OK, so it says it's done it. Let's have a look in the console and see if it has. Now if we have a look at the object here, what I'm going to show you is something about the admin console. And you can see here, it appears to have not updated anything. Now, I can tell you it has. It's just that sometimes this particular screen does lag behind a bit and could lag even up to 5-10 minutes behind when you see things in this particular viewpoint. So it looks like it hasn't done it. However, the source of truth for your Entra is going to be Entra itself. So if you have a look at the users listed here and hit refresh, you can see there's the Ayrton Senna user. And if I go in here and have a look at properties, you'll find, look, there's that data we put in, there's the contact details, there's the F1 driver, the Formula 1 department. So it has made those changes, but it's going to take a second or two to update in here. In fact, if I hit refresh, it might happen for us, but no, not yet. But remember that this does lag behind. So if you think it hasn't worked or hasn't made that entry, just go and have a look at the same entry inside Entra. And that will give you that absolute source of truth if it has updated that account or not, which it obviously has here. So that concludes what I want to show you with the local AD to Entra ID. And thank you for watching. Please have a look at the other videos, the Entra to Entra and the AD to AD if you haven't done so already. But once again, thank you.